What is poppin', boys? Back again with another video. We're going to be doing a 2023 mock. Like and subscribe right now. We want you in the content. We want to be having you guys in these Dynasty mock drafts. We also want to be talking about these Dynasty rookies. I want to know what you think, what you agree with. But anyway, let us get started. 101 is going to be Bijan Robinson. Don't need to harp on it. Lily, everyone's telling you this is the greatest prospect since Saquon Barkley. We all know that. We all know that he might not test as well in the combine. Still some things we need to see. Even if he lands on, let us say, the Colts, where he's playing behind Jonathan Taylor, he's still going to be my 101, just based on the prospect, based on the landing spot. We bet on these type of prospects, and that is why he is my 101. My 102 is going to be CJ Stroud. Now, I know a lot of people are going to say, well, who are we picking between Bryce Young and CJ Stroud? We as a Dynasty community, and if anyone listens to any analyst or tries to talk to anybody, we are terrible at picking quarterbacks. Absolutely terrible. We can look at maybe who is the best running back based on speed score, based on weight, based on height. But quarterback, it's kind of hard because there has been a lot of outliers. But I just am banking on CJ Stroud with the height, with what we saw as an Ohio State fan, but also what we saw against Georgia, the way that he was able to put the team on his back. He was able to scramble, show off some of that athletic ability that he does have. Believe he is the 102, but as always, can't just leave Bryce Young hanging. They are so close. If you're doing any startup drafts, both of these guys are going early second to mid second, really high value. So honestly, if you could flip one of these guys into a little bit more, let's say, good NFL quarterback like a Deshaun Watson, or I've even seen some people trade these picks for Kyler Murray already. Like, those are things that I might be looking to do if you are in need of a quarterback. But as always, taking these shots on these prospects that are getting that top 5 to top 7 draft capital is super important because they have a longer leash. And that is the reason I have both of these guys as my 102 and 103. Like I said, we keep these short and sweet. Want to get your thoughts, but at my 104, we are going to have Anthony Richardson. Now, this might be a little bit of a surprise to some of you who may be watching this and be like, man, I think I might prefer Jahmyr Gibbs. I might prefer JSN. I hear you on all that. But if you're playing in a Superflex league, which is what this is, and what I love to play in, it's really hard to evaluate these quarterbacks. Now, if you've watched any other YouTube video, listening to any other analyst, they're going to say, oh, well, remember when Josh Allen was the third quarterback coming off the board in 2017? Oh, remember when Lamar Jackson was falling down the board because he got drafted in the late first? And look at how those turned out. But then at the same time, we could say the same exact thing. Remember Zach Wilson. Remember Josh Rosen. Like, we are so bad as a community at drafting these quarterbacks, at saying that's the guy that's going to turn into a stud. Because if we don't remember, it was only a few years ago where Justin Herbert was getting drafted behind Tua and behind Burrow, which he should have gone behind Burrow, but Tua, Justin Herbert, we see how that's turning out right now. So as a community, we need to understand we're looking for fantasy football upside. And if we're looking at that, then the case to be made for Anthony Richardson, as long as he does get a first-round draft capital, is that he has the upside to be a Josh Allen, to be a Jalen Hurts with that rushing upside. And hopefully that he gets into a system where they're able to put the right pieces around him, the right coaching, the right system. And that's a lot of what ifs. But at this point in the draft, I am taking every shot that I can on Anthony Richardson at the 104. At the 105, we're going Will Levis. Now, I'm seeing these guys, and I'm seeing these fantasy analysts, they're Dynasty analysts, they're talking about, okay, we're gonna push these guys. Like, I'm seeing them drafted at like 108, 109. Now, if they were terrible quarterback prospects, I get it. Like, I've been a high on Will Levis all offseason. But he is my quarterback 4 in this draft book class. But the fact of the matter is, if he gets top 10 draft capital, I have to take a shot on him because the upside of him being a top, like a first round, second round startup pick is worth my investment here over someone like a JSN or someone like a Jordan Addison or any of these guys afterwards. Because what is their real upside? Maybe a second round startup pick. And so Will Levis right now, he's going like in the 4th round of startup drafts. And I think that's just going to continue to rise. I would not imagine that by the time the NFL draft happens, he's more in like that 3rd round range. And especially if he starts getting the hype that he's going to be the first quarterback overall taken, I think you have to take Will Levis at the 105. My 106 is going to be JSN. As a Buckeye fan, there's a lot of things that I love about JSN. Of course, there was the big Rose Bowl game that he had last year. Comes in this year, really doesn't perform to the level that we are expecting of JSN because he does get injured. And a lot of people are going to be saying, oh, well, he's just not athletic enough, or we're worried about his body frame. And like, I hear all of that. there's a few things that stick out to me about Jaxon Smith-Njigba. One is, of course, that he had a college dominant rating of 14.2. He had a college target share of 16.1. Now, granted, that was also including last year. He had a breakout age of 19.6, so he was in the 70th percentile. There's just too much stuff to like. And I think if we're thinking about the NFL, that what we're seeing the NFL turn in today, we're seeing the Monroe St. Browns, we're seeing the Cooper Cupps just absolutely demolishing on a fantasy football basis. Now, we're not looking at a Monroe St. Brown, and you're not saying that he's a top 5 receiver in the NFL, but he's producing as a top 10 receiver for fantasy football, and that's what we care about. So JSN, excited to see where he lands. I'm honestly, it doesn't even matter if he's like the 3rd wide receiver taken off the board. I think I'm still going to be leaning that way unless he absolutely lands in a terrible spot. He's being mocked to the Baltimore Ravens in a lot of spots, and that is not exciting to me, but we shall see what happens with JSN. He's currently my wide receiver 1, my 106 off the board. My 107 off the board at the moment is going to be Jahmyr Gibbs. Now, I want to talk about Jahmyr Gibbs and the fact that these running backs are super hard to evaluate currently right now. And like anything in the Dynasty offseason, you should not be trading for running backs. And it's really hard for us to be evaluating these NFL running backs before the combine, because the combine tells us a lot of things. It tells us their weight, their height, and also how fast they run the 40, their speed score, and all that, those important juicy metrics that we like and can really help us project, okay, like Breece Hall, if we don't remember last year, he was going off at like the 105, 106, all of a sudden has a massive 40 time, shows out at the NFL Combine, and it was like, boom, he's the 101 in Dynasty Rookie Drafts. Same thing could happen with Jahmyr Gibbs. I just am a little bit hesitant to crown him that, especially when you're looking at NFL mocks. We've seen him anywhere from late first to end of the second. I've even seen him in early third. So I think the NFL community, the NFL draft community, isn't quite sure how the NFL views Jahmyr Gibbs yet. I'm excited to see if he gets early second to late first. I think he goes right here. I think this is the perfect spot for him, just because the receiving upside. Everyone compares him to Alvin Kamara. I think he's more juiced up like James Cook. And so it wouldn't even surprise me if the Buffalo Bills ended up taking Jahmyr Gibbs just based on his talent. So I see a lot of exciting stuff that we can dive into Jahmyr Gibbs in the upcoming weeks, but Jahmyr Gibbs is my 107. My 108 is going to be Jordan Addison. Jordan Addison is my wide receiver 2. All of a sudden, he had a little bit of a down year compared to last year when he was the Blitnikoff winner at Pittsburgh. Granted, he did play with 2 really good quarterbacks, but to be fair, I think Jordan Addison actually benefited Kenny Pickett more than Kenny Pickett benefited Jordan Addison. But that's still to be determined. Jordan Addison, what are we doing? He's projected top 15. He's going to go to a team, and even if, same exact thing we were talking about JSN. Okay, he's maybe not an alpha. Maybe he's a wide receiver 2. We see what Devontae Smith is doing next to A.J. Brown. We see what all these receivers, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're the one. It doesn't matter if you're the alpha. I don't know why we continue to harp on these receivers in that way. Now, there are some concerns. 6 foot, 170. We are concerned about his size, but he commanded a 23.3% target share in college. He had an 18.6 age breakout. A lot of things, like just a lot of things that when you watch him, yes, maybe he doesn't jump off the screen, but he runs precise routes. And what if he's a more juiced up Jerry Jeudy? I think that could be an upside where I'm excited. So yes, Jordan Addison is my 108. Love that pick. At my 109, we have Quentin Johnston. Now, everyone on Twitter has been talking Quentin Johnston, JSN, Jordan Addison. Quentin Johnston, my wide receiver 3. The man, if he hits, is going to be amazing. Just 6'4", huge body. Things that concern me: he catches the ball, body catches a lot, plays for TCU, which I can hate on that, I guess, for the Ohio State bias with the quarterback, but I want to see it. I really need to see it in the NFL, and I need to see the draft spot. He's probably actually going to be the first wide receiver off the board. Would love to see if he went to like Houston or something like that. But Quentin Johnston, still a lot that reminds me of like a Kelvin Benjamin and N'Keal Harry, where he has the upside, but I'm worried about what the floor is, where I think the other 2 guys are safer that have similar upsides. Granted, he did have that 21.2% target share this last year, playing in 13 games. We did see the speed. He does have crazy speed for his size. So if he tears it up at the combine, which it doesn't really matter like athletically for wide receivers as much, but if he absolutely tears it up at the combine, could easily see him passing Jordan Addison in my rankings, depending. But Jordan Addison and Quentin Johnston, they're tight, but Jordan Addison is still my wide receiver 2. Here at the 110, we're going with Sean Tucker. Now, running back is just hard right now for me to evaluate as a whole. Like I kind of said earlier, just hard to base these running backs off of things that we are unseen. I think the dynasty community has gotten a little bit tired of talking about Sean Tucker over and over again. So we're trying to find ways to, throw up Zach Charbonnet or throw up Zach Evans, which I think are fantastic running back prospects as well. Kendra Miller, I think this is a deep running back class. But we need to take a second and remember what Sean Tucker did this year. The fact of the matter is, Sean Tucker, 206 rushing attempts, 1,600 yards, 13 total touchdowns, 36 receptions. Even if we look at Sean Tucker and we're like, man, he's just Tony Pollard. Okay, we saw what Tony Pollard did finally when he overtook Zeke. So I think if Sean Tucker gets late second, early third round draft capital, definitely a place to be taking him here. I think this is kind of the spot on the board, though, that once you get past like the 108, I'm either trying to trade up to 108 or I'm trying to trade back, because there's a ton of good options that I think are very similar to these guys I'm about to mention from here. But Sean Tucker is my 110. My 111 is going to be Michael Mayer. A lot to be said about the fact that these tight ends, they don't produce in year one. We understand that. But Michael Mayer is a special prospect. Yes, no, he was not Kyle Pitts. No, he's not about to be Brock Byers for next class. But Michael Mayer produced for Notre Dame, produced for all 3 years. And we all knew last year when we were talking about these 2023 picks, we were always like, oh, like CJ Stroud, Bijan Robinson. And then Michael Mayer was thrown in because we thought, oh man, this guy is like baby Gronk. I think we need to get back to that mindset. With some of these other shots, I feel like we're taking a little bit, like we're willing to take a shot on like a wide receiver, like a running back that might be getting that third round draft capital, when we're seeing what happens when a TJ Hawkinson finally gets the targets and, is 3 or 4 years into the NFL. So Michael Mayer, you got to be patient. It's going to be a long play if you end up taking Michael Mayer, but I think Michael Mayer could be a good pick and a steal kind of at the 111. My 112 is going to be Josh Downs. A lot of different mocks are comping him in the second, maybe late first. Josh Downs, I think a lot of people are worried about size, but he does have the speed. And again, if he just finds himself as a slot wide receiver, I'm super excited. Super excited for Josh Downs. I don't really know. There's not a whole lot to say. Josh Downs, I feel like this is where like kind of the tear off happens. Like I do like Jalen Hyatt a lot. I just think he would have to go to a really good situation for me to consider him above Josh Downs, just based on the profile and everything of that nature. So anyway, I appreciate all you guys stopping in for being a part of the channel. If you haven't already, like and subscribe. We're going to be doing some lives. We're going to be doing some drafts, and going to be putting out this type of content each and every day for you guys going forward. So let me know how I can help, and let me know what I did wrong in the comments. So talk to you guys soon.